Hello my friends, this is Henriette here from Pro Strings. I frequently get asked the question about gift ideas for violinists, and this is both for children and young people but also for adults, and I have been thinking about researching this a little bit because there is so much on the market and make a video on it, and here it is. I will split my gift ideas into a section which I call essentials, which are really products that help violinists, and sometimes they don't actually have these products, or just have a bit more of a fun version of certain essentials that you might use. And then later on in this video I'll talk a little bit about other fun things that I think I might quite like to have at some point. So I have ignored many of the rubbish products that are on the market. Below this video I've put some links to my Amazon stores, and I've listed loads of products there, so please go and click on those links and research the products, because there is so much to delight your children or your adult friends with violin related products. So let me start by telling you a little bit about essentials. And one thing that violinists can never have enough of is rosin. Rosin is a little block of pressed resin that comes from a tree, and you put it on the bow to make it stickier, so it sticks to the strings better and it produces a nice sound on the violin. Now rosin, when you drop it, it smashes to pieces, so there is quite a demand for rosin. But rosin doesn't only come in this shape, it comes in really funky shapes like a violin outline, or it comes in sparkly colours, and it's quite a nice present to receive as a violinist. So that is one of your first violin related essential presents. Then an old-fashioned thing that many violinists use is a tuning fork. Now this is my very old tuning fork. They come in clear metal now. That is a very useful present. What you do is you hit it and then you put it by your ear and you hear the note A, and that is one of the strings of the violin. So very useful present is a tuning fork. Of course there are also electronic tuning devices, and these electronic tuning devices are also very handy. First of all, some of them you can clip onto your instrument and then play, so you don't need to hold it. And then it's got little lights that tell you whether the note is too sharp or too flat, or whether it is just right. So a very useful thing to have. Another essential for violin playing is a music stand. Now many young players especially play from the wire music stands, and that's perfectly good, but they tend to get old and sometimes collapse. So an upgrade on the music stand, like go for a bigger one, an orchestral music stand, one that is more stable, can be very useful. There are also music stands that you can put on a tabletop. I can imagine that if you haven't got much space, it can be quite handy to have a tabletop music stand. And then something else that violinists always use is pencils, soft pencils like 3B or 4B, because they write really easily on the music, because sometimes violinists write fingerings or bowings on the music. But I find myself always looking for my pencils, so you have these really handy magnetic pencil clips. They clip onto a music stand, and you always have your pencil ready. A tiny little thingy, but ever so useful for violinists. Of course, when violinists go to lessons, or they have got ideas, they might jot them down. So a designated music notebook is very handy. And for all my students, I use practice notebooks, so where they can put their assignments in, where I write the homework and they can take it home and their parents can read it. So fancy music notebooks are also very, very useful, as are name tags for violin cases. And you can see that in this list there is a whole range of different prices, so you can really delight a young violin player with just a name tag which has a little violin on, and some of them you can personalize, so to indicate that it's their violin case. But that's also a very useful present for adults too, so name tags for violin cases. Then there is varnish cleaner, And that is a very useful product too, because when you put rosin on your bow and then play on the violin, some rosin will fall off onto the varnish of the violin, and you clean it off with special varnish cleaner. So that is a very useful little present. And then here's a present that I quite often recommend to people when children and also some adults find it difficult to get started with their violin practice, is to leave the violin out on a violin stand. And that can be a wall mount, and you can see I've got some violins hanging on the wall here. You can just grab it off the wall and start playing, rather than having to unpack and find a place for the violin case and open it and unpack it. It's ready to play, and that's a very useful thing to have, a violin wall mount, or it comes as a table stand as well, and then there are floor stands as well for violins. So on the floor stands and some of the wall mounting stands as well, they have got a special little hook for the bow to hang on, and you can have your violin ready at any time to play. So a very useful present. Of course, you can buy violin music bags in all shapes and sizes, and that is a very useful present as well, to keep all the music and notebook and everything together, so you haven't got it spread around your room. I can tell you many examples of people who cannot find their music books ready for their lessons, so keep them in a music bag. It keeps the books dry in the rain, and it keeps them always together, so you never have to look for any books anymore. Then if you're looking for a present for an adult, or a slightly more upmarket present, you can find metronomes. Here's an example of an electronic metronome, but you've also got these tick-tock metronomes, and they are really actually quite decorative to have if you have a music room or a piano to put it up there, and very useful as well to keep to a steady beat in the music. So lots of violinists will use a metronome, and to have one upgraded to a really fancy one is of course a lovely gift to give to someone. Then something that I find extremely useful, that is a clip-on music stand light, and that is, for me, that's an absolute lifeline. This one, it's got a USB connection here, so you can connect it and recharge it. So this one nowadays doesn't work on batteries anymore, but a nice light to light up your music on the music stand. The next thing is a music book holder, and I think I class that as quite a useful present as well, because especially with new music books, the pages don't go flat on the music stand, but they have got a little sort of waviness, and it makes the music more difficult to read. So a little clip to hold the music in place is really a useful present as well. And of course, if you go busking, it is an absolute essential. Whenever you play outside, or even if you have a garden and you want to play in your garden, music clips are absolutely vital to keep your music in place. And then my last one, which I consider as a useful present, is a coffee mug. And coffee mugs come in different violin shapes and with violin ears, but they also come with engraving, and you can be personalised, so you can get some very fancy coffee mugs. Now these are all lovely gift ideas for children and for young people, but also for adults, and these are accessories. And the reason why I'm focusing on accessories as presents is that when you buy a violin or a bow or even a shoulder rest, these are very personalised items. So I want to put a word of warning here. Of course, it is a lovely idea, a lovely suggestion if you want to buy either a violin or a bow or a shoulder rest. But please can I suggest you speak to the teacher first. Because they are personalised items, you want to know, first of all, if you're buying a violin, what size violin is suitable for the child or the young person, but also what quality or what brand or what playing level the violin is for. And with shoulder rests, what shoulder rest is suitable for this person with this playing style. So it's not the case that any shoulder rest will fit everybody. So please, before you go on and purchase these lovely gifts, speak to the teacher, and that might well be away from the person that the gift is intended for. Because the worst thing for me as a teacher is to come across a child who brings a new instrument to their lessons, and they're all full of joy and so happy to play it, and it turns out that the instrument is completely unsuitable for this particular person at this particular playing level. So before you spend a lot of money and before you have an embarrassed teacher who finds it very difficult to put down the enthusiasm straight away and say, actually, this is completely unsuitable for you, do please feel free to speak to the teacher, and the teacher will love you for it, because it so often happens that I have to disappoint people and say, you cannot learn on this instrument. This instrument is meant to be a toy and not a proper instrument for learning on. And that leads me on to the fun products that you can have for violin playing, and that goes from violin clocks to watches to jewellery and cufflinks, like beautiful earrings, but also a jewellery box where you can then put all that beautiful violin jewellery in. That is really nice. I've seen a nice cheese board in the shape of a violin with a wine board as well, also in the shape of a violin, so that is really nice. You can get music aprons or violin aprons in all sorts of designs, so they're quite a fun present to give to somebody, I think, as well as a violin tie and violin socks. If I was a male violin teacher and I'd have to go to my school in a suit and tie, I would definitely wear a violin tie. I think that's quite fun. And then something else which other people might put in the essentials category, I personally don't, but I thought I should mention this to you because this is a really fun present that I found, and that is a whiskey decanter in the shape of a violin. I'm sure there is something here in this list that is just right for the person who you are looking for. Of course, this time of year there's also the Christmas baubles and things that you can hang in your Christmas tree. Do find the description below this video, and I've listed a great number of these violin gifts in my Amazon shop. So that saves you having to go and find them yourself. I've just listed a whole range of them. So if you're in America, click on the link that is amazon.com. If you are in the UK or want to buy from the UK, go on amazon.co.uk. Down below this video, there are links there, and you find out either violin gifts in my shop. It's a different category, so you have an overview of all sorts of things. Then if you want rosins, you can click on, there's a different section, an ideas list with all sorts of rosins. Same with music stands, same with music bags. So go ahead and click on one of those links and you'll be surprised at how much variety there is in violin related gifts. Thanks for watching.